Well, President Trump's move on the TPP is, of course, being watched very closely in Asia. CNN senior international correspondent Ivan Watson joins us from Hong Kong with more on all of this. Ivan, the Japanese Prime Minister has already spoken about this, saying that the TTP has a different meaning without the US. What other reaction are you seeing across Asia?
Well, I think the Japanese Prime Minister is probably quite disappointed, since he, even just Monday morning, was telling lawmakers in the Japanese parliament that he was still hoping to try to convince Donald Trump to see the strategic and economic value of this trade agreement. But if you want to see what this executive order will do effectively to the TPP, take a look at what it was supposed to look like when the U.S. was joining with 11 other Pacific Rim countries into this big trade bloc before, when it was part of it, and now take the U.S. out of that map, and you get a sense, when you remove not just the geography of the U.S., but the fact that the U.S. is the world's largest economy, how it leaves other countries like Japan, like Australia, which has announced officially that it's very disappointed by the U.S.'s withdrawal from the TPP. It leaves these other countries kind of hanging. The Malaysian government has said that it's still going to try to get together with these other signatories to try to see what they can salvage from this. In the meantime, it will be seen by many analysts as a boon for China, the world's second largest economy, which came out very critically against the TPP during the negotiating periods, and will likely welcome the removal of the U.S. From this trade agreement. This was very much seen as a competition between a U.S.-led trading bloc and other multilateral trading blocs that China has been trying to install here in the Asia-Pacific region.
Right, so China could potentially capitalize on the TTP falling apart. Are there any other options? Could those involved in this stall discussions on it and implementation until the next administration?
Well, that's a very good question, but that's a long time from now, and nobody really knows whether or not Donald Trump could be reelected 4 years from now. The fact of the matter is that China is the world's second largest economy. It is a huge economic force here in Asia. And while the U.S. had been proposing this one multilateral trade pact, the TPP, China has been very active in proposing a number of different regional investment banks, infrastructure investment banks, as well as its own competitor, you could argue, to this, which is called the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, which has some 16 member countries. That is a multilateral kind of free trade institution that China is leading. So as the U.S. retreats from this very economically dynamic region, as it appears to be on the verge of doing, it will stand to gain for China. And that will also perhaps be a concern for other countries in the region that are starting to get concerned that China is simply too powerful, that they need a counterbalance to China in this region. New Zealand, perhaps one example to put forward for this, because China really dominates trade for New Zealand, leaving it with few other countries with which to counterbalance China's economic might.
Some
Lynda.
great analysis there, Ivan Watson. A lot to stay across. Thanks so much for that.